Hello, everybody. Joe Bagdones here, and welcome back to another episode of Umineko. I almost said Muv Love Total Eclipse, and that's not true. That I haven't recorded that in a while, and the last episode just went up like yesterday. So, yesterday for me, for you guys, it would have been like a week and a half ago. But you know, if you want to go watch that too, I won't mind. Yeah, some shenanigans are afoot. Seems like Maria channeled the spirit of Beatrice, and the game is afoot. So let's just hop right into it. The strange letter that the witch had entrusted Maria with had wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Maria had been repeatedly barraged with questions by Auntie Rosa and the other parents, and was now in the worst of tempers because no one would believe her. Even when we kids tried to talk to her, she would just ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up over the gold, firing back and forth about the distribution of the assets, and completely forgetting that we children were even there. Even though I'd already figured that they had been talking about this in the shadows, I never thought they'd be so blunt. They'd be this blunt about it, and at least to us kids, it was a considerable shock. Yep, there goes their backroom deal about divvying it up. From what we could overhear, all of our parents wanted as much money as possible, as soon as possible. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found. About advance payments in cash. It was so despicable I couldn't bear to watch, even though one of them was my dad. Looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats, although no one had asked us to leave, and went to hang out somewhere apart from the parents.
なるほどな。じいさまが飯の席にも顔を出したくない理由がよーくわかったよ。うちの親たちにはすっかり幻滅だぜ。
Bunch of fucking vultures.
金だの遺産だの。よくもまああそこまで大っぴらに。
俺の場合はクソ親父に幻滅しきってるからよ。これ以上評価の下がりようがないぜ。
Yeah, it seems like your dad has his own set of issues.
そんなの私だって同じだぜ。しかし今夜のには呆れたぜ。心底呆れたぜ。
Does it really? I mean, your dad's kind of a shitbag. Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. I could realize that from the depths of Jessica's shock.
未成年の君たちはご両親に養育してもらってるからわからないだろうけど、お金を得るというのは単純な綺麗事じゃないよ。未成年である今にそれを理解しろとは言わない。
You don't gotta pay taxes.
でもご両親なりに何かの努力をしていることだけは認めてあげてほしいな。
やれやれ。ジョージの兄貴は人間ができてるぜ。
Right.
ジョージ兄さんは社会人になってバリバリ働いてるけどよ。
I mean, he's still a student, ain't he?
金とか財産とかそういう話になったらうちの親父たちみたいに強欲むき出しのハゲタカになれるってのかよ。
自分だけの話だったらそんなことはしたくないよ。でも家族や社員、部下やその家族の生活を背負ったら戦わなければならない時もあるかもしれない。
私はそんな戦い嫌だぜ。小さまの遺産がどうのこうのなんて話ヘドが出るぜ。
Well, if you're not gonna fight for it, someone else is, and they're just gonna fucking roll you over in order to get what they want. Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
もうこの話はやめようぜ。じいさまの隠し黄金がどうのこうの、財産だ遺産だって話は親たちの問題で俺たちの問題じゃないさ。
僕も同感だよ。せめて気を利かせて親たちの話し合いを邪魔しないのが子供の務めだと思うね。
なんだか面白くねえぜ。
Everyone knows the phrase, adults are filthy. Do they? But we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a shock. George Key was now pretty much an adult, and I had already been disillusioned with my dad in the first place, so the shock wasn't that big for us. It looks like it was different for Jessica. Looks like the shock that Jessica had received was even bigger than I had thought. This girl, she was always talking badly about her parents, but it looked like she hadn't changed at all on the inside since long ago. Even now, she was still a pure-hearted and delicate person who couldn't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does. And then her parents started joining in all the other parents, right in front of us children, going, money, money, inheritance, inheritance, my money! Arr, 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 arr. And so it was no surprise that the shock of the inheritance was the shock of hearing this was so big.
ジェシカちゃん、どうかお父さんとお母さんのことを嫌いにならないで。理解しろとまでは言わないから、せめてどうか嫌いにならないであげて。
分かってるよ。少し放っておいてくれよ。
6 years ago, I would have further taunted the dejected Jessica. Ooh, lots of J's. But even I have grown up over the past 6 years. I realized that it would be better to leave Jessica as she was right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be left alone for a while now. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
そういえば、マリアちゃんはどこに行ったんだろう。
多分まだ肖像画の前でいじけてるんだろうぜ。
Maria, who truly looked up to witches, had expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would be an event that would surprise everybody and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity, had not taken Maria's story at face value, and had thoroughly bombarded her with questions. Even I didn't find it hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. We couldn't speak to either Maria or Jessica. In the end, George, Aniki, and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain and the dark night.
台風はどんな感じなんだろうね。
Nice segue, not at all abrupt.
ニュースをやってないかな。
Yeah, let's go watch some TV. George and Aniki walked over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. He hadn't called me over, so I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. So I didn't go over to the television, but instead loitered around the window.
そんなに風は出てなさそうだけど、海の上はひどいのかしらね。天気予報では暴風警報も聞いてたんだけど。
桐江さんか。大人たちの積もる話は
It's probably not
どん
going
な
great.
感じなんすか？
They're probably fucking at each other's throats. It looked like she caught the sarcasm. Kyrie, there we go. I said it right this time. Kyrie-san shrugged. I had to think about it real
こ
hard.
の胃の痛くなる話は徹夜で続くのかしら。嫌になるわ。
まあせいぜいよろしく。じいさまの財産分配についてハゲタカごっこをお楽しみくださいってんだ。最低の気分だぜ。
それに関しては同感よ。バトラ君みたいに席が外せるなら私もそうしたいわ。
Mm-hmm.
でもそうもいかない。
Yep, gotta fucking back up that shit. That
たと
bag.
え発言権がなくてもね。パートナーも大変よ。
Moral support. Kyrie-san sighed, smiling bitterly. Well, yeah. They probably won't let Kyrie-san, who married into the family, speak. Still, as Dad's partner, she has no choice but to stay by his side and support him. Being in the line of fire, she must be having to bear far greater mental pressure than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I had spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being.
どんな感じなんすか？相変わらず謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの話題で持ちきりですか？
まあね。あの人たちはおじいさまが亡くなった時の遺産分配について兄弟4人で話をまとめようとずっと密約を重ねてきた。
Trying to cut some backroom deals instead of going with the witch's plan.
そこへ未知の5人目が現れて話をややこしくしようっていうんだから穏便な話のわけもないわ。互いを罵り合ったりかと思えば共闘しようってことになったり。
Yeah, enemy of my enemy and all that.
夏日姉さんでなくても頭痛がしてくるところよ。
On the one hand, they all wanted a larger portion than the other siblings, so they were all rivals. But on the other hand, they didn't want 1 yen to be snatched up by anyone other than the siblings, so they were also all allies. I couldn't get her to tell me the details, but they were apparently arguing on and on about their ceasefire agreement and rules to prevent anyone from getting ahead. situation under which their portions would be protected, and what legal measures would be taken in a worst-case scenario. By this point, my emotions had shot straight past disgust, and now I perceive them as a force to be reckoned
っ
with.
てことは、差し詰め。ベアトリーチェはじい様からの資格ってとこですかね。自分抜きで遺産の分配なんて話を勝手に進めてた息子たちに、一泡吹かせたかったんだろうぜ。
Maybe, but I don't really think he cares that much.
何者かしらね、ベアトリーチェって。自称してることが全て本当なら、今日まで誰にも知られずにいた謎の人物で、しかもおじい様の隠し黄金の存在を知っていて、その上当主の指輪まで委ねられている。
Yep.
相当に信頼された人物ね。
さすがにほうきにまたがった魔女だとは思わないっすけど、でも魔女と呼ぶに値する怪人物であることは間違いないっすね。
That's a good way to look at it.
マリアちゃんがそのあたりのことを詳しく話してくれればいいのだけど、みんな小さい子にがっつきすぎだわ。すっかり怯えてしまって、聞けるものも聞けなくなってしまった。
Mm-hmm.
あの人たち、北風と太陽とか読んだことないのかしら。
Unfamiliar with it.
確かなのはマリアがベアトリーチェと名乗る
The
人物
name
か
rings a
ら
bell,
手
but
紙を受け取ったこと。
unless someone told me that that little Aesop's fable, I would probably not be able to tell you anything about it.
自分で現れて直接話せばいいものを
So it's probably not an Aesop's
手
fable.
紙を
It's
託して
probably
今
just,
もどこか
you
に
know,
身を潜めているっていう
good old
シャイな怪
morality
人物ですけど
story,
ね。
whatever fucking thing.
ねえバトラ君、ベアトリーチェなんて人物が本当にいると思う？
Sure.
さあ、あくまでも偽名じゃないっすかね。じい様の代理人としてその妄想の中の魔女の名を名乗ることを許されたとか。
ううん、そうじゃなくて、
Oh, that's a noise.
今この六軒島には全部で18人いるの。19人目が存在すると思う？
Yes. Are there really a whole 18 people on this island? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers. It did come out to 18 people.
19人目が存在すると思うって。どういう意味ですか？
言葉通りの意味よ。マリアちゃんに傘を貸した人物は私たち18人の中にはいないらしい。なら19人目がいて、その人物がマリアちゃんに傘を貸したと思うのが妥当じゃ
Fair
ない？
assumption.
まあ、そうなりますね。
ならその人物は今どこにいるの？
I don't know, hiding out in the woods?
少なくとも雨が降り出した瞬間には島にいた。そしてその後はどんどん天気は悪
Yeah,
化し
they've
て、
been here from the
と
start.
ても船なんか出せない状態となれば、その人物はまだ島の中にいて、どこかで雨宿りをしていなくてはならない。私たち誰の目にも触れずね。
確かに。俺たちは屋敷やゲストハウスの中を勝手にうろつき回ってましたが、誰も19人目なんかには会ってないわけですよね。
Big island.
でもまあ、これだけの広さのある島
Not
ですし、
unreasonable for there to be like another little building off in the woods that you don't know about.
屋敷やゲストハウス以外に雨宿りできるところだってあるのかも。
At about this time, I began to realize what direction Kyrie-san's doubts were taking us in. Kyrie-san was denying that a 19th person existed. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, she thought that someone we all knew well was using her name.
ベアトリーチェが自称する通りなら、その人物は間違いなく最高の賓客よ。
Hold on, I gotta take off my watch. It's a new one, so the leather band hasn't been broken in yet, and it's starting to like fucking chafe into my wrist. If I can get it off, fuck. The little latch. There we go. Whew.
おじい様が信頼する最高の腹心。そんな人物をおじい様が歓待しないわけがない。
Yeah, so it's clearly not one of the kids.
お屋敷に迎え入れないわけはないのよ。でも私たちは誰も見ていない。
待ってくださいよ。それはちょいと請求な推理じゃないですか。確かに 誰の目にも触れてはいないけれど、だからって19人目を否定することにはならないんじゃないですか。何かの理由があってこっそり上陸してずっと隠れているのかも。
Or, like I suggested, been here from the start.
悪魔の証明ってやつっすよ。いることを証明するのはたやすい。ベアトリーチェってやつが俺たちの前に現れて挨拶すりゃ解決する。でも19人目がいないことを証明するのは不可能っすよ。
バトラ君の推理の仕方は悪くないわ。現在の状況では19人目の存在を認めるにも
Yep, not enough
否定
data.
するにも情報が足りない。
It would be foolhardy to jump to a conclusion in either direction.
でもね、チェス盤をひっくり返して考えるとほぼ19人目はありえないって断言できちゃうのよ。
Flip over the chessboard was one of Kiryu-san's favorite phrases. I had also been influenced by those words and used them myself from time to time. When you get stuck trying to find a move in chess or shogi, by flipping the board over and looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you can often see a strategy that would give you the upper hand. Derived from this, it means to think by putting yourself in your opponent's shoes.
いい？仮に19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェが実在したとして、その人物は誰にも知られることなくこっそりとこの島に上陸しずっと隠れていた。何かの理由があってね。ならどうしてわざわざ姿を現してマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したの？
I don't know, easy to fool kids. It really was a contradiction. They had some reason for hiding themselves. Then they should have stayed hidden for the whole time, but they had appeared openly in front of Maria.
それはほらマリアも言ってた。メッセンジャーにされたって言ってたじゃないですか。マリアが一番年下で素直そうだったからじゃ。
Easy to take advantage of.
メッセンジャーなんて必要なの？手紙を親族会議の席上に送りたかったら郵送すればいいだけの話よ。4人の兄弟全員に郵送すれば黙殺することもできない。手紙を持参してこっそり手渡す理由がないのよ。
Theatrics.
確かになんだかおかしな話っすね。
そもそもベアトリーチェが存在していてその存在をアピールしたいならみんなの前に堂々と姿を現せばいいだけの話。
Again, it's more mysterious this
なの
way.
に現れずマリアちゃんという小さな子を通しておぼろげな輪郭だけでその存在を主張しようとする曖昧さ、矛盾。もっと考えて。マリアちゃんの前に姿を現し19人目の存在を印象づけるという点とにも今この瞬間も私たちの前に姿を現さず隠れ続けている点、これらの矛盾、これを念頭に置いた上でチェス盤をひっくり返すの。
Okay.
つまり19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェがいると印象づけたい人物の目論見は何かよ。
姿を隠したい人物ならその存在をアピールするわけがない。そして姿を現したい人物なら手紙を託すなんて遠回しをするわけがないってことは。
簡単よ。ベアトリーチェは18人の中にいるのよ。
Okay.
だからこそ18人以外の人物が存在するような幻想を作り出しているのよ。これ見よがしな19人目のアピール。それで得をするのは姿を潜めた19人目じゃない。
Something to outside force to, pressure everyone into a more of
すで
a
にいる18
compromising.
人の方なのよ。
Not compromising, a compromise. There we go. I was gonna say compromising position, but I'm like, wait, no, that's not right.
もちろんこの推理は穴だらけ。いくつかの前提がひっくり返るだけですぐに崩れる脆いものだけど、私はほぼ間違いないと見てるわ。
This is quickly starting to sound pretty creepy. Who had lent Maria that umbrella and handed her the letter? All of the 18 had been ruled out, and yet Beatrice was hidden among those 18. There's also the chance that someone is just lying. What was that person planning, hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice?
マリアちゃんの自作自演も疑ったんだけど、文章の内容が非常に手が込んでて、マリアちゃんが自前で用意したとは考えがたい。
Yeah, she also spoke and read very eloquently, which, I mean, I don't want to say it's beyond her ability, but even if she was a normal 9-year-old child, that level of speaking is far beyond their ability.
でもマリアちゃんが何者かと共謀している可能性も否定できないわ。
おいおい、マリアは9歳のお子様だぜ。誰と何を共謀するってんだよ。しかも愚直で真面目で素直なあの性分だぜ。
ええ、私もマリアちゃんの性分はよく理解しているわ。
That's why if someone like got them on her side, they, she'd be pretty willing to go along with
で
them.
もだからこそあり得ると思うの。魔女に憧れ、その存在を盲信している夢見がちな少女。
Kids are easy to trick.
そこにベアトリーチェと名乗る人物が現れて魔女だと名乗ったら、彼女はそれを大喜びで鵜呑みにして信じるんじゃないかしら。
Hook, line, and sinker.
つまりあの肖像画のごついドレスを着て変装すればマリアを騙すことは難しくないと。
Correct.
その論法になっちゃうと、私たち女性陣はみんな疑われちゃうことになるんだけどね。とにかくマリアちゃんが何者に出会ったのか。
I mean, I brought it up last time. Shannon-kun is, has a very slender frame.
それの詳細を聞くことが
So we can add him
こ
to
の
the
謎を解く
list of
一
suspects
番に
there.
して最も身近な鍵なのよ。しかしその鍵は少女の心の奥に堅くなに
Because I
閉
don't
ざされ
think,
てしまったわ。
I don't think someone like Nanjo is going to be fooling anybody.
みんなが頭ごなしに魔女の存在を否定し、一体その人物は誰なのかと問い詰めすぎた。マリアちゃんは当分大人には心を開かないでしょうね。
In the dim hall, in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing. Yeah, grown-ups suck.
誰もね、マリアがベアトリーチェに会ったことを信じてくれない。ベアトリーチェとくれた手紙も見せたのに、それでも信じてくれないの。
とにかく鍵はマリアちゃんが握ってるわ。
For the time being, that's how it looks.
ベアトリーチェが18人の中にいるのか19人目なのか、それを知る鍵をね。
マリアは頑固だぜ。あいつへそを曲げるとなかなか機嫌を直さないからな。
Yeah.
大人の私より子供のバトラ君の方が機嫌を直せる確率は高そうよ。彼女の
Yeah, it
機嫌
helps
が
that
直
you
ったら
didn't
聞いてみて。
fucking interrogate her like they did. And,
遺産分配がどうのこうのって話には関心ないけど、こんな王道洋館ミステリーみたいなシチュエーションにはワクワクしちゃわない？
yeah, it's fun.
マリアちゃんに手紙を渡した人物は一体誰なのか。
I know they do, it's a thing they do on like some cruise ships or whatever. They do like a murder mystery kind of thing.
知的好奇心がうずくわ。
うんざりするような金の話に付き合わされてもワクワクとは実にタフなことだぜ。大人はすげえや。
I shrugged, exasperated. But I had realized. She had noticed the dejection I was feeling because I had overheard her parents' turbulent discussion and was probably trying to turn my mood around. She had at least managed to make me feel good enough to hurl abuse. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mom. But it did make me think she's a real adult.
おうガキども、ここにいたのか。キリエも長え化粧直しじゃねえか。俺も次からは化粧をしてくることにするぜ。
Hey man, nothing, a little cover-up never hurt.
ごめんなさい。女の化粧は長いのよ。どう？
I'll slap a little foundation on. You don't gotta get extravagant, but
兄弟水入らずの話し合いは。
nothing wrong with a dude trying to look good.
さぞや和気あいあいとしてるだろうよ。
Kiri-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow.
一度頭を冷やそうってことで小休
You
止
mean your ribs?
こりゃ夜通しになりそうだぜ。泣けてくれ。
His way of talking hadn't changed, but he couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his normal, energetic self.
しかしひでえ雨だな。
I like the rain.
ゲストハウスに戻るのも嫌になるぜ。夏日姉さんが屋敷で泊まれるよう準備してくれたらしい。
Well, I like it when I'm not stuck working in it.
どうする？
3階になった時に考えてもいいんじゃない？部屋に戻る体力もなくなってたら、その時はお世話になりましょうよ。
そうだな。その時に考えりゃいいか。バトラーはどうする？
俺がいちゃお邪魔だろうからよ。気使って
Getting the fuck out of there.
向こうに戻るぜ。
そうか。すぐ戻るのか？
さあな。一人で戻ったって寂しいしよ。子供全員で揃って帰ることにするぜ。
そうだな。そうするといい。
Don't get separated.
それで、バトラー、
Strength in numbers.
お前、今夜はそうは簡単には寝ないだろう。
What?
多分いとこたちとおしゃべりしてるだろうからな。夜更かししそうな気配はあるぜ。それがどうかしたのかよ。
そうか。もし大人たちの会議が終わってお前がまだ起きてたら、ちょいと家族でしたい話があるんだ。
Make sure we're all on the same page about what's going on here.
なんだよ。
A little family meeting at the family
笑い
meeting.
もねえな。
Apparently, Kiria-san was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked him in a small voice. Looked like Kiria-san didn't have a clue about what Dad was talking about either.
キリエにも聞いてもらいたい話だ。後で話すから、今は聞く。
Gotta formulate a plan.
頼む。
Get our own little faction going. I don't think there's anybody who ignores their family as much as this old bastard. And this was the guy that was asking us to have a talk as a family. Both Kirie-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed.
そうビビった顔すんなよ。ビビりてえのは俺の方なんだ。何しろ。
At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant. I don't remember Dad being the kind of person to artificially drum up suspense.
気持ち悪いぜ親父。今家族は全員揃ってるじゃねえかよ。もったいぶらずに言えよ。
We don't know who could be listening.
俺は多分今夜殺されるだろうな。
Well, it was a huge crash of thunder. It must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself and always wore a taunting expression, was, for some reason that I couldn't explain, strangely frail. He was so worn out that he looked like a different person.
は？何言ってんだよ、ガラでもね。
同感よ。どうしたの？急に弱気ね。あなたらしくもない。
Yeah, things have gone off the rails a bit.
ついてくんない。
Understandable to be a little paranoid. Dad turned away weakly. After all, only Kirie-san and I were left, still wide-eyed.
なんだってんだ。今夜殺される？まさかあの妙な手紙のせいで親父ビビっちまったのか？連続殺人者の映画の見過ぎだぜ。
Kirie-san didn't answer my lighthearted words and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back.
バトラ君はルドルフさんに今話せと言ったら話さず立ち去った。みんなに話すことがあると言い出しながら答えなかった。どうして？チェス盤をひっくり返す。すると
話すと言っておきながら話せない矛盾。なんすかね。親父側から見ると何か見えてきますか？
ええ、見えるわよ。
Alright, well, you know him, like, better than anybody, so spill the beans.
話したいことがある。
Yeah, you said that.
でも自分から言い出す勇気がない。
Yeah.
だから追ってきて俺に話しかけて聞き出してくれが正解ね。ついてくるなも逆の意味よ。ついてきて俺を問い詰めてくれが正解。
What a fucking drama
まった
queen.
く甘えん坊さんなんだから。
そういう推理でいいんすか？そんなんめちゃくちゃな。
名探偵や名刑事が男女の気持ちや心を推理できる？できないでしょ？異性の気持ちを探るのは 何次元のトリックを暴くよりはるかに高度な技術なのよ。私に言わせれば名作推理小説より恋愛小説の方がよっぽど難解なミステリーだったから。
I guess there's some truth in that.
はあ、そういうもんすかね。
You'll understand when you're older.
私はあの甘えん坊さんと一緒にいるわ。普段は虚勢を張ってるけど、今夜はかなりの激論で疲れ切ってる。誰かに寄りかかりたい気持ちなんでしょうね。それに応えるのがパートナーの役目よ。
はあ、そりゃお熱いことで。じゃあうちのクソ親父の世話をよろしく頼みますよ。
ええ、任せておいて。
As Kiryu-san departed, I called out to her.
え、何？
いや、ありがとよって。おかげで陰鬱な気分がだいぶ晴れたぜ。
Well, let's see how long that lasts for.
ならよかった。コミュニケーションは大事ね。
After answering with a wink, Kiryu-san followed after Dad. Natsuki could be found in the dimly lit hallway. Now and then, the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on Natsuki's expression. The expression was completely worn out. Yeah, it's been a long day. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsuki's mind. Beatrice had proclaimed that in addition to the gold, the headship and all the assets of the Ushirimiya family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to determine the absolute guarantee that Krauss, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no chance to succeed the head. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. It was obvious that they would accept Beatrice's proposal. Even without playing clumsy detective games, she knew that this so-called 19th person, Beatrice, couldn't exist. This was a message employing a fictional character called Beatrice as a messenger. It may as well have been written by in Kinzo's own handwriting. The proof was that Kinzo remained stubbornly neutral as to the letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring the reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore, that he had given up the head's ring. In short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Maria that letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait would be prepared, and someone, probably Shannon, would be made to wear it and deliver the letter and the umbrella. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, that is why you could be certain that Kinzo was behind all of this. In that case, it was just as if Kinzo had butted in on the siblings' private discussion. And, by announcing that he would give everything to the person who could solve the riddle, Kinzo had weakened Krauss's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had listened in on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day. So he had known how Krauss had staved off the attack by the other three, and to make the scales of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out this strange letter which benefited the other three. Ava and Rudolph had dragged Rosa in, who had a weak position among the siblings because of her age, and they were trying once again to overwhelm Krauss 3-on-1 and push through their crazy reasoning. And so they had resumed what had been that had once been a nearly decided conflict, and were repeatedly pressing Krauss to pay them a large amount of money. Talk about the advance payment, which had been denied once already, was being brought up again under the terms that all of the siblings would guarantee Krauss the succession to the family head. Once again, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Ushirimiya family store of wealth was vast. Just that store was worth more than enough by itself. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever along with Kinzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Therefore, even if they had no interest in the gold itself, there would be lifelong fear that, on the off chance that somebody found the gold, that person would be granted the position of the family head. And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor to the head, Krauss. And the other siblings had found, No, they had been told by Kinzo about something that only Krauss could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsuki, as Krauss's only ally in his painful position, and as his wife, had believed she was fighting alongside him. She kept trying to point out to him that the existence of the goal itself was a farce and that there was no need for him to compromise. Krauss had always told Natsuki, he had told all of these siblings, he had always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than a fiction created by Kinzo. Therefore, Natsuki had believed that as his wife, and on that foundation had supported her husband. Yet her words would not reach him. Even though she was fighting so hard and lending all of her strength, he continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other 3 siblings. Wondering why she could not be of use to him, Natsuki felt sorrow, shame, and then anger. It had happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool their heads. Natsuki had flared up against Krauss. Enraged, she had asked why she could not be useful to him. He had told her that he wanted to talk about something, and had invited her into one of his private rooms, which she was normally not allowed to enter. The room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock, and just looking at it had given her an uncomfortable feeling.
他の3人の言うことも、ベアトリーチェを名乗る不審人物の言うことも、何も気にかけることはありません。黄金など所詮はお父様が生み出したまやかし。
So you say.
それを見つけられることなどあるわけがない。あなたが跡継ぎであることは盤石です。何を恐れることがあるのです。
Okay, I never mentioned it before, but it's been bothering me how her, her, what do you even call that? It's not quite a ponytail, but the hair in her back is a different color than, the hair on the top of her head. It's more of, a reddish brown compared to, her regular, normal hair color, which is just regular brown. It just throws me off every time I look at her. Krauss removed the padlock on the door, then motioned for Natsuki to enter.
入りたまえ。
何ですか？
見せたいものがある。君に初めて見せるものだ。
Cool. Natsuki timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. It was pitch black. She searched for the switch to turn the lights on, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Krauss entered behind her, pushing her in, and closed the door before making any attempt to turn the lights on. The 2 of them were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Krauss locking the door rang out through the dark.
これは
Yeah, this ain't suspicious at all, my guy.
明かりは
今つける。待ちたまえ。
True to his word, Krauss pushed the switch on the wall, and a flickering light turned on and lit up the room.
それは
Natsuki had her breath taken away. The room had no windows, and at a glance, it appeared to be empty. In the middle of the room, a small round table had been set, and the lights brightened only that table, as if it were the leading part in a play. Laid out on the table was a red tablecloth of elaborate design, covered with dust, and on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That something took Natsuki's breath away.
凄まじい純度を持つ黄金のインゴットだよ。
Well, you found one of them, huh?
こいつがなければ誰も黄金伝説を信じはしなかった。
It was an ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified gold glint.
こいつはまともなインゴットじゃない。このインゴットを鋳造したのが国内なのか国外なのか。
It takes a high level of skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots. And in order to verify that purity, it is standard to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it imprinted on the gold. However, the ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry.
ここを見たまえ。怯えることはない。こいつはただの金塊だ。
Yeah, it's not gonna bite you. Natsuki, following Krauss's words, timidly approached the ingot.
そこだ。
Krauss pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsuki concentrated on that section. What, the family crest? What about it? Right there was a thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. Natsuki's breath was taken away once again.
そうだよ。これこそが親父がベアトリーチェに与えられたといい、保証人のマルソーの会長に任意で一つを抜き取らせて持ち帰らせ、財界のフィクサーたちを信用させたという伝説方々に手を尽くして私が見つけた。他の兄弟たちより早くね。
What, was it just fucking sitting in a shoebox?
そんな。じゃあお父様の黄金伝説は
実在する。後宮金蔵が授けられたベアトリーチェの黄金は、
Or at least the one Ingot does.
そんな本当にあるなんて。
Natsuki was shocked. Krauss had always said that Kinzo's gold was just a fabrication, so she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. He had held definite proof and had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. Because of this, Krauss was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold and that he had failed to find, costing him everything. But to Natsuki, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought that, as Krauss's wife, she should be his closest confidant, which was why she had been selfishly supporting him, selflessly. And yet, he had hidden this fact from her until today. Why?
そこまでに私はあなたの信頼に足り
You're
ないと
fairly
いうんですか
emotionally unstable. There's a good chance you would spill the beans in some fucking outburst or whatever.
そういうつもりはない。話す必要がなかっただけだ。
あなたにとっては妻はその程度のものなのですか？
Yes.
落ち着きたまえ。
Oh, nothing calms down like a woman like telling her to calm down,
悪い
but
癖だ。
あなたがそうさせてるんじゃないですか？私は後宮家に嫁ぎ、今日まであなたの妻として仕えてきました。あなたのために生まれた家を捨て、身も心も捧げてお仕えしてきました。その報いがこれなんですか？そんなことって。
I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a betrayal of trust, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. There's like way worse things. Krauss grimaced, looking annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsuki.
私はもうあなたの力になれそうもありません。
うん。それでいい。兄弟のトラブルを私が自分の力で解決する。君の
Yeah, you're more of a
力を
liability than anything.
違います。これは後宮家のトラブルです。確かに私にはこの身に家紋を刻むことが許されていません。でもあなたの妻です。なのに私には
Yes.
力添えする資格もないのですか？あなた。
君を思えばこそあえて関わらせなかったのだ。これ以上は頭痛に触るだろう。君は今夜はこれで休みたまえ。
Yeah, knowing that the gold existed and then having to worry about it would give you a fucking ulcer.
兄弟の話は兄弟でつける。君は関係ない。それだけだ。
A dull headache tormented Natsuki. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what sense it burned, it wouldn't heal. What sense she burned. On the other hand, by standing here alone in the dimly lit corridor, her head filled with the sound of the rain, she felt like the pain had softened a little. That may have been Natsuki, but that was not Ushiramiya Natsuki. What's that word? Denigrated. Okay, I had to sound it out of my head. I had to figure out where the emphasis was. Denigrated as being a sorry excuse for a wife, verbally abused for not even being able to take care of that. Even so, I tried to properly perform the duties of a wife, but I've been rejected even by my husband. I did my best raising my daughter as though it were the last job left to me. However, my anger and sadness, having no place to go, caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too. because I've been excessively strict in Jessica's education and thoroughly disliked by her. Jessica despises me for not being interested in anything but grades. There's no longer anything I can do for the Ushiramiya family. No, that's no good. Even so, I must help my husband dislodge the schemes of the other greedy siblings. The head won't be around much longer. Eventually, Krauss will succeed the head, and the next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will be the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor who everybody will accept as worthy to take over the Ushiramiya family. In the years to come, that greedy Ushiramiya Ava will surely be continually plotting to find some fault with the main family. So that if all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession with George in her place. It is regrettable, but George is a man, even more, he is matured as a person. If you compare him to Jessica, who's right in the middle of a rebellious period, whose grades are below average, you can see at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her an excellent husband worthy of this excellent person she will have become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows. That was Natsuhi trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own. Natsuhi thought back to the days when she had no choice but to marry into the Ushiramiya family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgotten that, and had actively attended to the life she had been given as Ushiramiya Natsuhi. And this was the new life she had built. But it felt like, just now, all that had been casually rejected. Natsuhi helplessly rested her head against the glass of the window. The glass, cooled by the raindrops beating against it, was somehow refreshing, and even though it had no emotions, right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsuhi. Even if someone showed up there and saw her like this, Natsuhi had no intention of caring in the least. But she found herself caring, because it was her beloved daughter.
母さんか。なんだよ、こんなところに。幽霊かと思ったぜ。
Just like always, her words were rough and not at all like a girl's. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose to Natsuhi's throat. However, they did so only weakly, so she was able to prevent them from escaping her lips.
ジェシカ、ごめんね。母さんは頭痛がひどいの。そっとしといてくれる。
そう。
Jessica was more than slightly disconcerted by the first ever sight of feebleness from her mother. Until just now, she had been filled with contempt for all of the parents, including her mother. But now, not the slightest bit of that feeling remained. All that had been wiped out by her mother's completely exhausted face. In its place, the words that George had told her floated back into her mind. Parents are doing their best in their own way. They're supporting their family so that they can't afford to keep everything pleasant and have a heavy responsibility to fight. Couldn't her mother have been standing around in this dimly lit hallway because no one had tried to understand that? Jessica didn't like her mother, so she had no instinct to give her mother words of kindness just because she looked a little frail. Therefore, in order to give those words regardless, she had to clench both her fists and wrench the words out from the depths of her heart.
ずいぶん立て込んだ話をしてるようじゃん。
お前には関係ありません。よそへ行っていなさい。
頭痛ひどい？あ、私薬もらってこようか。
構わないで結構です。お願いだから一人きりにして。
Natsuhi was not being cold to her. She just wanted to get her daughter far away from her so that she could avoid subjecting her to her short temper. But there was no chance that her intentions would reach Jessica. Jessica hung her head, looking sad. I mean, you can just be open and say like, hey, you know, I'm not feeling great right now, and I don't want to like rip your head off by accident. So, like, I appreciate the thought, but a little space. Looking at that expression, Natsuki realized Jessica was trying to muster up all the strength to be kind to her mother. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind
じゃあ
feelings.
私行くよ。大人の邪魔にならないようにいとこたちと一緒にいるから。じゃあ
お待ちなさい。
She called Jessica, about to make her desolate exit, to stop.
何？
気遣いを。あ
There
り
we
が
go.
とう。
That's all you needed to say.
お前を残して寝込むわけにはいきません。
よせよ。縁起でもないぜ。
心配をかけました。もう大丈夫です。私は行きます。
Staying here any longer with such a feeble expression would actually make her daughter feel more uncomfortable. Thinking this, Natsuki left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. This time, it was Jessica who called out to her mother's back. Natsuki stopped, turning around, and asked what she wanted. But Jessica herself didn't know why she had stopped her mother. And for a while, she muttered to herself with a slightly forced smile as if she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around in her pocket when her hand had touched something, and she took it out.
あのさ、母さん。私さ、今日お守りもらったんだよ。なんだっけな。魔除けだったっけ？確かそのドアノブにぶら下げてるといいんだっけ？
Yeah, if you want to.
忘れちまったぜ。私が持ってても仕方ないし。母さんにあげるよ。
It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her by the beach that day. Although she had heard of its various effects from Maria, right now, Jessica's mind was blank, and that's all she could do to even say that much. Thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept the charm anyway, Jessica had immediately drawn back the hand offering it to her. So when Natsuki came back and took hold of that hand, she was extremely surprised.
これは何かの景品？
まあその私も多分そうだろうと思ってるけどよ。こんなおもちゃみたいなお守りじゃご利益は期待できねえよな。
But her mother took the scorpion charm from her grip.
ありがとう。大切にします。ジェシカには今度私が子供の頃大切にしていたお守りを
Cool.
代わりにあげましょう。
別にそんなつもりで渡すんじゃないぜ。でもまあどうしてもって言うなら。
では私はもう休みます。頭痛がひどいのでジェシカもあまり夜更かしをしすぎないように。
うん。
Yeah, you need your sleep. I say as someone who sleeps like easily like 12 to 16 hours a day. If I don't set an alarm, I will sleep the entire day away. Natsuki put the charm in her pocket and walked away. She then disappeared into the dark hall.
やっぱり明日も丸一日
Ugh,
こんな天気みたいだね。
やれやれ。今日の日中が嘘のようだぜ。
George, Nikki, and I were killing time in front of the parlor television. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she had calmed down a little since she had left.
マリアはまだ肖像画前？
いや、さっき戻ってきて。今はそっちのソファーで寝てるぜ。マリアにはもう遅い時間だもんな。
Looking at the clock, it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were going to stay up all night, it's about time to head back to our room.
一応うちのおふくろが屋敷にも部屋を用意してくれたんだけどよ。
Now, all your shit's over at the guest
どう
house.
する？
僕はゲストハウスに戻りたいかな。親たちの様子を見る限り、
Yeah, get a little
僕たち
separation
は
from
お屋
this
敷にいない
atmosphere, you
方が
know.
いいと思う。
俺も同感だぜ。子供は邪魔せず引っ込んでろって感じみてえだからな。おとなしくそうするさ。
After we discussed that, Auntie Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria.
ローザおばさん。マリアならそこのソファーっすよ。
ありがとう。すっかり眠っちゃってるわね。ベッドに移さないと。
よかったら僕がベッドまで背負っていきましょうか。
ありがとう。助かるわ。ジョージ君たちはゲストハウスに戻るの？
Yep.
それとも夏日姉さんが用意してくれた部屋に泊まるのかしら。
今話し合ってました。ゲストハウスへ戻ろうかって話になったところです。
そう。ならマリアも一緒にしてあげてもいいかしら。
Sure.
いとこのみんなと一緒の方がきっと安心できると思うしね。
Seeing that, in the shadow behind those words, there was some regret that the adults, including herself, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings.
任してくださいよおばさん。何しろこっちにゃマリアをあやすことに関してはエキスパートがいるっすからね。
それは僕のことかい？
You're the best at it.
僕だけじゃ無理だよ。みんなでだよ。
そうだぜ。バトラだってあんなにもマリアと意気投合してふざけ合ってたじゃねえかよ。
As we said this, Auntie Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
みんなありがとう。私たちの話し合いはだいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。だから申し訳ないけどマリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
No problem.
おーいマリア、熟睡か？ゲストハウスに戻るぞ。
Maria muttered something indistinct as if answering, but then rolled over and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。
Well, good thing she probably only weighs like, I don't know. It can't be that heavy. How much does a 9-year-old weigh? Well, it's hard to tell, because Maria's a giant, so she probably weighs like, let's say 60 to 70 pounds?
起こすのは悪いな。
僕が背負うよ。
Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. George Aniki picked her up and pulled her over his back. It was raining hard outside, so Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looked like Auntie Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, she heard Uncle Krauss's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return.
困ったわね。もう戻らないと。
皆さんゲストハウスまでお戻りですか？
After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shannon-chan stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので私がご案内させていただきます。
ちょうどよかったわ。
Got a big
シャノンちゃん
flashlight?
ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていってくれるの。傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。
はい、かしこまりました。
Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴重くねえか？俺が背負うぜ。
大丈夫だよ。マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ。
本当にありがとうね。マリアをよろしくお願い。
わかりました。じゃあおやすみなさい、おばさん。
Yep, don't get murdered.
それではお送りしてまいります。
ええ、よろしく。
Auntie Rosa saw us off.
マリア、いつもごめんね。
Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor anyone else, but just appeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ。そうすりゃ傘をさしてくれるシャノンちゃんのでっけえお胸を二の腕でたっぷり堪能できたってのによ。
そんなつもりじゃないよ。誤解だよ。
そうしないとジョージ様が濡れてしまうと思いまして。
Yeah, sure, whatever.
ほーら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
After being nudged by Jessica, Shannon folded up her umbrella and went into the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？
I mean, probably, even with an umbrella, it's hard to avoid it when it's like raining sideways
タ
like
オルを
that.
用意いたしますが。
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ。ありがとよ、シャノンちゃん。
そうだ、僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけど。
あれ、今日のシフト深夜勤は誰になってんだ？
親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。少し変更も出てるみたいなのでちょっと確認してきます。
ああ、わざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に。
Yeah.
大丈夫です。ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので、ちょっと失礼しますね。
Shannon-chan gave a quick bow and went to the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room, put Maria in the bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. We got some drinks out of the room's refrigerator, and spent some time playing cards while drinking. Yeah, getting fucked up.
あれ、カノン君、源氏様までこちらに。今夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか。
クラウス様の命令があってね、シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
Well, at least getting overtime?
ゴーダがお屋敷の深夜勤に変更になった。シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの深夜勤。
So when do you guys sleep?
私と熊沢はゲストハウスに泊まるようにとのご命令。お前も今夜はこのままこちらにとどまるよう。たった一歩。
So, like, basically everyone's over here?
ずいぶん大掛かりな変更ですね。お屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか。
Originally, Shannon and Cannon had been given the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience entertaining. Kumasawa had been scheduled to stay in the guest house, while Genji had been scheduled to stay in the mansion. However, it seems that Krauss had suddenly ordered that schedule modified. That shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house.
多分ベアトリーチェ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
多分ってどうして？
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたらクラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
Genji, Shannon, and Cannon were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo had the right to employ them, even Krauss could not have them dismissed at his own accord. Because of this, they were often viewed by Krauss and the others as Kinzo's underlings and shunned. And in reality, Kinzo would seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. You would probably call the sudden shift change a clear expression of that sense of distrust. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance would come up. On top of that, the mysterious letter I'd claimed to be from Beatrice had been dropped in out of the blue. Krauss definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table at such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまんが、私は向こうでくつろがせてるが、もし何かあったらすぐに呼ぶよう。今夜のお客様は特別だ。
はい、かしこまりました。源氏様。
Genji nodded back, went behind a screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's work of tension.
今お戻りになられたのはお子様方。
親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を。だいぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな。
なら気楽だね。これ以上の深夜になって、しかもこの天気。多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
多分ね。源氏様がいないから言うけど、ゲストハウス行きになってちょっと嬉しかった。
Yeah, the environment over there, the atmosphere is a little much.
どうしてだい？
Also, George is here.
意地悪な奥様やエヴァ様から離れられたから？それとも別の理由があるのかい？
別の理由なんか
Uh-huh.
ありません。
Yep.
そっか。なら二人で深夜勤を
Sure,
頑張
sure
ろ
you
う。
don't.
よろしく姉さん。
私ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて。
Shannon hung her head apologetically and made uncertain glances towards Cannon's eyes. Cannon didn't try to meet her gaze and spoke curtly as he sighed. Looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。深夜勤を仰せつかってる。それに僕たち家具には遊びのお誘いは必要ない。わかるね。
Don't get
そんな
attached.
こと分かってます。
Shannon dropped her shoulders slightly. She had already expected that Cannon, considered rules to be very important, would probably say something like that, but even so, she was a little discouraged. As Cannon turned the pages of a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon.
ならお子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。
Yep, he's gonna be busy working, and he won't have time to pay attention to what you're doing, so
深夜勤に当た
he
って
won't
しまった
notice
から
anything.
ご一緒できないと謝ってこなきゃ。
If maybe you're off, hanging out with them for a little bit.
行ってきなよ。
私謝ってくるね。
Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change, gave a quick bow, and flew out of the servant room. As he watched her disappear, Cannon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
カノ、私がここにいるからお前も行くといい。
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。僕は別に誘われては。
その場にいなかったからお声をかけられなかっただけだ。言えばお前
We'll
も
have some
誘わ
fun.
れている。
You work too hard.
たまには子供らしく遊んでくるといい。
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。人の子には遊びも必要でしょうが、僕らは家具ですから。
そう。
姉さんだって家具です。人のふりをしたって後で苦しむだけなのに、僕はそれが分かっているから人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
Alright, try hard. Genji did not say anything after that. A few moments passed, and then he stood up, used a pot of hot water to make some hot chocolate from powder, and served it to Cannon as well. Well, like Genji. Genji's a good
そ
dude.
りゃ本当かよ。そりゃ知らなかったぜ。
バカ、声が大きいぜ。マリアが起きちゃうだろ。
Bat looked so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab and he lowered his voice.
あ、いや、しかし言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
George could not be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon had come into the room, George had suddenly said he had forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shannon said she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them had departed together.
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。
And there's gonna, a little rendezvous.
好きなものを聞いてきたり、趣味を聞いてきたりさ。単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうもなんて思ってたらよ。
そういや、昔か
Oh
ら
yeah,
ジョ
fucking
ージ
look
の
at
兄
those
貴は
badongadongs.
シャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。なるほどな。
Those are most certainly some roses. Nice gazebo, too. They hanging out there? Yup.
天気予報によると今夜が一番ひどいみたい。明日いっぱいもやまないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
That's generally how it is.
そうですか。では あさってまでは船は来られないかもしれませんね。ジョージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配
You
で
can
す。
miss a day. I can't say anything if
台
it's because
風
of the
が来て
weather.
いることは知っていたからね。万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the normally composed appearance that George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly just like a little kid. It's because he has that shitty haircut, my god. Going with a center part is such a bad idea. Nobody looks good with a center part. Just like all comb it over to one side, my guy. Shannon chuckled at this gal.
さすが。やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
やっぱり会社を起こすというのは大変だね。お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものが
Yep,
とても大
there's
事だ
the
って。
personnel issue.
父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。
The human element, the hardest part to deal with.
会社を起こすということは城を持ち部下を率いるということ。うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。
Makes
会
sense.
社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。知ってるかい？戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も
Oh, they can expand the
最
text
初は
box. First time
部
it's
下
done
たち
that.
の結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
Yeah, it's super interesting from the cavalry aspect of the Sengoku period because essentially Japan didn't have like cavalry-based like warfare. It was pretty new. So during the period of the Sengoku Jidai, cavalry was introduced. It went through its phases, and then by the end of the Sengoku period, it had already been like left in the dust because at that point, firearms and people had learned pike formations and yada yada. So compared to like Europe, where it took like 1,500 years for all that stuff to work itself out, they did it in like 100.
そうなんですか？なんだか意外ですね。
信玄は部下たちを結束させるため数々のリーダーシップを発揮してるんだよ。例えば戦場で武功を立てた部下に対し、すぐその場で報奨を与えたり。
Meritocracy.
普通こういうのは戦が終わってからまとめてやるものだからね。それを戦場の本陣の中にいながらまめ
People like
に
it
や
when
り
you
続け、
recognize their accomplishments.
部下の武功を素早く評価しやる気につなげたというのは非常に大きいことだよ。
Shows that you care.
それから部下が病気で伏せった時には誰よりも早く駆けつけお見舞いをしたとかね。武田信玄は戦国最強の騎馬軍団を率いただけじゃない、戦国一の部下思いの人だったんだよ。
そんな方だから部下の皆さんもついてきてくれたんですね。
Truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago. But when George started to tie his father in with one of these stories, he would always be beaming, looking like he was having a great time. So Shannon didn't interrupt, but merely smiled to encourage him to continue.
確かに資本主義の世界ではお金は力で石垣の高さでもある。でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り立たない。大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだよ。それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると、自分がいかに未熟で、
You're just a kid. It's
父さんが
fine.
どれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよくわかるんだ。
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。羨ましいです。
ごめん、別にそういう意味で言ったんじゃないんだよ。
すみません。私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. She had been brought up in a welfare institute owned by Kinzo called the Gospel House. Oh god, I'm gonna sneeze. Give me a sec. Ugh. No, I didn't sneeze. Ugh. Oh. I'm fine. Under the guidance of the honorary director, Kinzo, Gospel House offered excellent students a chance to live a life of service. If they were accepted, they would be able to leave the institute and work as servants for the Ushiramiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for a student. Servants from the Gospel Fukuin house all took names with the character in Annon in the one while they served. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same goes for Cannon. All the students at the Gospel house were orphans. Or, failing that, people who had been disowned by their parents through some special circumstances. Because of this, the students had been taught to think of each of each other as their family. That's why it seemed so natural for Cannon to call Shannon his sister. While only Shannon and Cannon were working today in the mansion, there were other servants who worked in the shift rotation, named Manon. Manon? Okay. And how would I pronounce that? It's not, I guess Lennon. Huh. It's spelled different from the way I normally see it. Lennon, who also inherited the in Annon character in their names. However, there were not that many servants who stayed with the Ushiramiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for over 10 years, was a very rare exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Ushiramiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for 3 full years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That's why, even though the students realized what a harsh task working with the Ushiramiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. But in Shannon's case, maybe the fact that she had managed to continue for more than 10 years should not be viewed as her having more willpower than any other servants. Maybe it was a lack of courage to say that she wanted to quit that forced her to continue working for those 10 years. Kinzo, who could not even trust his own blood relatives, those excellent servants sent from the Gospel house were the only ones who he could trust. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control and have them work close to him.
もう勤めて10年近くになるんだっけ。だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい？
Yeah, it must be rolling in it.
どうでしょう。
Don't really gotta pay for much of your work here.
別に私買いたいものも特にありませんし、ほんの何百万かあったってそれで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
Not really, but it's enough that you're at least able to get like loans from the bank.
目標の額があってお勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい？
そうですね。私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし、お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし、奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、バラの世話やお屋敷のお掃除
Not
も
my
楽
idea
し
of
い
fun,
ですし。
but you know, different strokes for different folks.
でもそれはシャノンちゃんのサヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Okay, that's her name. Shannon cast her eyes downward when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and closed her mouth.
僕は成人し、
Yeah, there's
社
more to
会
life
人になっ
than,
て
you
からも
know,
勉強して分
working
かった
here.
ことがある。子供の頃、僕らが思っていたほど人生は単調で短くないんだ。
Mm-hmm. There's a lot more you can do out there in the big wide world. That horrifying thought that everyone has in their student years. Will the rest of my life be like a monotonous, boring, sleep-induced after-school class, where I endlessly, lazily while away the time until finally it ends without anything interesting ever happening? However, those thoughts only arise while a person is still an underage student. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as a student is nothing more than a blink of an eye, just the period before they break out of their shells and cast off their immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating, and boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities.
君の人生はまだシャノンという殻の中でしかないんだ。君は自分の人生がこの生活のままずっと続いていくと勘違いしてるんじゃないかな。
それは
Shannon couldn't deny those words. She hadn't been able to find any concrete issues with her way of life, and And since she had never had any desire or goal to change herself in any particular way, she had continued her life idly. And if she was asked whether her life was already fulfilled, she wouldn't necessarily have been able to nod. It may have been the truth since she was deliberately averting her eyes from. As long as George didn't realize the truth, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away, neglected bit by bit.
ジョージ様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか。
I mean, it's your life. You can do whatever you want with it, but, you know, just gotta be aware, you know.
いけないよ。
There's more possibilities.
あ、それから今、ルール違反が一つあったね。
George immediately gave a strict answer and then broke out into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and it seemed that it embarrassed her as she hung her head.
僕たちしかいないときは、様はなしの約束だよ。
What a
約
bunch
束
of
では
fucking
聞けません。
lovebirds.
ですが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。私は家具ですから。
Yeah, she's definitely a sub.
じゃあ、命令だよ。
かしこまりました、ジョージさん。
As Shannon hung her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time using son.
それでいいよ、さよちゃん。
A smile rose to George's face, praising Sayo's small act of bravery. The way they talked with each other gave off the sense that their relationship had already been ongoing for some time. For a long while, as if the weather raging around them didn't even enter their consciousness, two of them talked about the many memories they built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to dampen the mood, but it could not sully these moments, which seemed to flush even the roses outside a deeper shade of red.
So, そうだ。君に見せたいものがあって。
何でしょうか。
George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Don't worry, I get like that too. From his manner, Shannon too understood something. George timidly searched through his pocket for it. It got caught deep in his pocket somehow, and came out somewhat slowly and awkwardly in the same manner as his speech. It was a very small box. Small box covered in a deep blue velvet. Its characteristic shape was enough to make anybody realize what was resting inside. Got some bling? Shannon had been preparing her heart a little, sure of what it must be. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took it out, and held it to Shannon to take.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
このような高価なものは、お受け取りできません。
受け取れない。
いえ。
Yeah, not like that.
こんなもの、私には過ぎていて。
さよ、これはお願いじゃない。命令だよ。この指輪を受け取って、ね。
Yeah, take
命
this
令では
promise
従わ
ring.
なくてはなりません。
そうだね。いい子だよ。
Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. The ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object, which since ancient times was meant to be offered to a special woman with a special meaning. So, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend, not on any order, but on Shannon's, no, Sayo's own will.
だから、ここからはもう命令じゃない。さよ、明日までに言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。わかるね。
どうすれば。
Whether you wear it or not.
もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから、
do
僕
what
は
you think
君
is
に命
right.
令はしない。でも、指輪は指にするものだからね。気に入ってくれたなら、好きな指につけてくれればいい。
You know, there's one specific finger that certain rings are supposed to go on. Shannon had only pretended not to know. She had already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。今夜はこれくらいにしよう。
George faced away from Shannon, seemingly slightly uncomfortable.
君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything if he makes you do it.
君も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。でも最後のここだけは君のさよの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。わかるね。
はい。
だからそれが命令。
Look at George fucking going out there and getting
今
some.
夜よく考えて明日その返事を見せてほしい。
Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their long relationship. This moment had not come as any surprise to
そろ
Shannon.
そろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。これ以上遅いと
I don't want people talking behind your back.
すみません。私、そのお屋敷に用を思い出しまして、そのお屋敷へ
Need
行かねばなり
need
ませ
some
ん。
time to think.
こんな時間に本当かな。
George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He had seen through this obvious lie as Shannon's. But imagining how she felt, it wasn't as if he could understand her, and he couldn't understand her embarrassment and why she might ask to be alone. And so George, having understood Shannon's lie and all that was behind it, allowed her to leave. And I'm sure nothing bad will ever happen between the two of them, and it'll be happily ever after. Oh, young love. But with that, that is where we're going to end it here for today. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and notification bell. And I will see you all next time for the next episode of Umineko, where we will pick up and hopefully nothing bad is going to happen to all these lovely people. See you guys all there later. Bye. Mwah.